La Rambla is a street in central Barcelona, popular with tourists and locals alike. A tree-lined pedestrian mall, it stretches for 1.2 kilometers connecting Plaça de Catalunya in the center with the Christopher Columbus Monument at Port Vell. La Rambla forms the boundary between the quarters of Barri Gòtic, to the east, and El Raval, to the west. La Rambla can be crowded, especially during the height of the tourist season. Its popularity with tourists has affected the character of the street, with a move to pavement cafes and souvenir kiosks. It has also suffered from the attention of pickpockets, and especially towards its southern end, sex workers. To the north of La Rambla lies Plaça de Catalunya, a large square in central Barcelona, that is generally considered to be both its city center and the place where the old city in the 19th century built example meet. To the east of La Rambla is the Barri Gòtic or Gothic Quarter, the center of the old city of Barcelona. The Barri Gòtic retains a labyrinthine street plan, with small squares and streets, many of which connect onto the Rambla. One of the larger of these squares is the Plaça Reial, a lively 19th century square with tall palm trees and street lamps designed by Antoni Gaudí, which opens down a short entrance passage off the Rambla dels Capuxins. To the west of La Rambla is the rather different El Raval Quarter. Outside the city's earliest walls, this area was originally the site of various religious and medical institutions. Later factories grew up along with housing for the workers, whilst the proximity to the port led to the area becoming known for its nightlife and cabarets, as well as prostitution and crime. At the southern end of the Ramblas is the Christopher Columbus Monument in the Port Vell, the old port of Barcelona, now largely given over to pleasure craft. Near to the port end of the Rambla are the Royal Dockyards, in Catalan, Drassanes, which house a maritime museum specifically devoted to naval history in the Mediterranean. Extensions at either end of the Rambla also carry the name Rambla, but are not normally considered part of La Rambla itself. To the north, the Rambla de Catalunya extends into the Example district. To the south, construction of the Maremagnum in the early 1990s resulted in a continuation of La Rambla on a wooden walkway into the harbor, called the Rambla de March.
Las Medulas is a historic gold mining site near the town of Ponferrada in the region of El Bierzo, province of Leon, Castile, and Leon, Spain. It was the most important gold mine, and largest open-pit gold mine, in the entire Roman Empire. Las Medulas cultural landscape is listed by the UNESCO as one of the World Heritage Sites. Advanced aerial surveys conducted in 2014 using LiDAR have confirmed the wide extent of the Roman-era works. The spectacular landscape of Las Medulas resulted from the Ruina Montium, wrecking of the mountains, a Roman mining technique described by Pliny the Elder in 77 AD. The technique employed was a type of hydraulic mining which involved undermining a mountain with large quantities of water. The water was supplied by intra-basin transfer. At least 7 long aqueducts stacked the streams of the La Cabrera district, where the rainfall in the mountains is relatively high, at a range of altitudes. The same aqueducts were used to wash the extensive alluvial gold deposits. The area Hispania Tarraconensis was conquered in 25 BC by the Emperor Augustus. Prior to the Roman conquest, the indigenous inhabitants obtained gold from alluvial deposits. Large-scale production did not begin until the second half of the 1st century AD. Parts of the aqueducts are still well preserved in precipitous locations, and including some rock-cut inscriptions. Research on Las Medulas had been mainly carried out by Claude Domergue, 1990. Systematic archaeological studies of the area, however, have been carried out since 1988 by the research group Social Structure and Territory Landscape Archaeology of the Spanish Council for Scientific Research, CSIC. As a result, Las Medulas ceased to be only a gold mine with its techniques and became a cultural landscape in which all the implications of Roman mining were made apparent. The survey and excavations of pre-Roman and Roman settlements throughout the area allowed for new historical interpretations that greatly enriched the study of Roman mining. A positive result of these systematic studies was the inclusion of Las Medulas as a World Heritage Site in 1997. Since then, The management of the cultural park has been monitored by the Los Medulas Foundation, which includes local, regional, and national stakeholders, both public and private. Currently, Los Medulas serves as an example of good research management society applied to heritage.
Merida is the capital of the autonomous community of Extremadura, western central Spain. The population is 60,119 in 2017. The archaeological ensemble of Merida has been the UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1993. Merida has been populated since prehistoric times as demonstrated by a prestigious hoard of gold jewelry that was excavated from a girl's grave in 1870. Consisting of 2 penannular bracelets, an armlet and a chain of 6 spiral wire rings. It is now preserved at the British Museum. The town was founded in 25 BC, with the name of Emerita Augusta, meaning the veterans, discharged soldiers, of the army of Augustus, who founded the city. The name Merida is an evolution of this, by order of Emperor Augustus, to protect a pass and a bridge over the Guadiana River. Emerita Augusta was one of the ends of the Via de la Plata, Silver Way, a strategic Roman route between the gold mines around Asturca Augusta and the most important Roman city in the Iberian Peninsula. The city became the capital of Lusitania province, and one of the most important cities in the Roman Empire. Merida preserves more important ancient Roman monuments than any other city in Spain, including a triumphal arch and a theatre. After the fall of the Western Roman Empire, during the Visigothic period, the city maintained much of its splendor, especially under the 6th century domination of the bishops, when it was the capital of Hispania. In 713 it was conquered by the Muslim army under Musa bin Nuzair, and became the capital of the Court of Merida. The Arabs reused most of the old Roman buildings and expanded some, such as the Alcazaba. During the Fitna of Al-Andalus, Merida fell on the newly established Fief Badajoz. The city was brought under Christian rule in 1230, when it was conquered by Alfonso IX of Leon, and subsequently became the seat of the Priory of San Marcos de Leon of the Order of Santiago. A period of recovery started for Merida after the unification of the crowns of Aragon and Castile, 15th century, thanks to the support of Alonso de Cardenas, Grand Master of the Order. In 1720 the city became the capital of the Intendancy of Merida. In the 19th century, in the course of the Napoleonic invasion, numerous monuments of Merida and of Extremadura were destroyed or damaged. Later the city became a railway hub and underwent massive industrialization.
The Royal Monastery of Santa Maria of Guadalupe is a Roman Catholic monastic establishment in Guadalupe, in Extremadura, Spain. It is located at the foot of the eastern side of the Sierra de las Villuercas, and was one of the most important and fine monasteries in the country for more than 4 centuries. UNESCO declared it a World Heritage Site in 1993. The monastery had its origins in the late 13th century, when a shepherd from Cáceres, named Gil Cordero, discovered on the bank of the Guadalupe River a statue of the Blessed Virgin, which had been apparently hidden by local inhabitants from Moorish invaders in 714. On the site of his discovery a chapel was built, dedicated under the title of Our Lady of Guadalupe. King Alfonso XI, who visited the chapel more than once, invoked Santa Maria de Guadalupe in the Battle of Rio Salado. After gaining the victory, he ascribed it to the Madonna's intercession, declared the church at Guadalupe a royal sanctuary, and undertook an extensive rebuilding program. In 1389, the Hieronymite monks took over the monastery and made it their principal house. Construction works continued under the auspices of the order's first prior, and in 1474 Henry IV of Castile was entombed in Guadalupe, next to his mother. King Ferdinand II of Aragon issued the Sentencia Arbitral de Guadalupe at the monastery on 21 April 1486, thus effectively ending the onerous evil customs allowing medieval nobles in Catalonia to maltreat the remensa peasants and tie them to their lands. The monastery has rich associations with the New World, including the Guadalupe Island in the Caribbean. It was here in Extremadura, where Christopher Columbus made his first pilgrimage, after discovering America in 1492, and where he first thanked heaven for his discovery. Even after the monks from Guadalupe founded the famous monastery of Escorial, which was much closer to the royal capital, Madrid, Santa Maria de Guadalupe retained the royal patronage. It remained the most important cloister in Spain until the confiscation of monasteries in 1835. In the 20th century, the monastery was revived by the Franciscan order and Pope Pius XII declared the shrine a minor papal basilica in 1955.
The Mosque Cathedral of Córdoba, also known as the Great Mosque of Córdoba and the Mezquita, whose ecclesiastical name is the Cathedral of Our Lady of the Assumption, is the Catholic cathedral of the Diocese of Córdoba dedicated to the Assumption of the Virgin Mary and located in the Spanish region of Andalusia. The structure is regarded as one of the most accomplished monuments of Moorish architecture. In 784 Abd al-Rahman I ordered construction of the Great Mosque, which was considerably expanded by later Muslim rulers. Córdoba returned to Christian rule in 1236 during the Reconquista, and the building was converted to a Roman Catholic church, culminating in the insertion of a Renaissance cathedral nave in the 16th century. The building is most notable for its arcaded hypostyle hall, with 856 columns of jasper, onyx, marble, and granite. The double arches consist of a lower horseshoe arch and an upper semicircular arch. The famous alternating red and white varsoirs of the arches were inspired by those in the Dome of the Rock and also resemble those of the Aachen Cathedral, which were built almost at the same time. A centrally located honeycombed dome has blue tiles decorated with stars. The edifice also has a richly gilded prayer niche or mihrab. The mihrab is a masterpiece of architectural art, with geometric and flowing designs of plants. Other prominent features were an open court surrounded by arcades, screens of wood, minarets, colorful mosaics, and windows of colored glass. The walls of the mosque had Quranic inscriptions written on them. Marbles of spotless white were chosen for the columns. Razi, an Arab writer, speaks of the valuable wine-colored marble, obtained from the mountains of the district, which was much used in embellishing the naves of the mosque. Hisham's temple covered an area of 460 by 280 feet, 140 meters times 85 meters. It was flanked by stout, fortified walls, with watchtowers and a tall minaret. The number of the outer gates was 9, and of the inner doors 11. These doors led to the same number of naves within the mosque. The court had spacious gates on the north, west, and east sides, and fountains for the purification of the pious. The naves were 11 in number, stretching from north to south, and these were crossed by 21 smaller naves running from east to west.
Mudéjar architecture of Aragon is an aesthetic trend in the Mudéjar style, which is centered in Aragon, Spain, and has been recognized in some representative buildings as a World Heritage Site by UNESCO. The chronology of the Aragonese Mudéjar occupies 12th to the 17th century and includes more than 100 architectural monuments located predominantly in the valleys of the Ebro, Jalón, and Juluca. In this area there was a large population of Muslim origin, although many of them were nominally Christian. Described as Mudéjar or Morisco, they kept their workshops and craft traditions, and rarely used stone as building material. The first manifestations of Aragonese Mudéjar have two origins: on the one hand, a palatial architecture linked to the monarchy, which amends and extends the Al-Jafiria Palace maintaining Islamic ornamental tradition, and on the other hand, a tradition which develops Romanesque architecture using brickwork rather than masonry construction and which often displays Hispanic-rooted ornamental tracery. Examples of the latter type of Mudéjar architecture can be seen in churches in Daroca, which were started in stone and finished off in the 13th century with Mudéjar brick panels. From the construction point of view, the Mudéjar architecture in Aragon preferably adopts functional schemes of Cistercian Gothic, but with some differences. Buttresses are often absent, especially in the apses, which characteristically have an octagonal plan with thick walls that can hold the thrust from the roof and which provide space to highlight brick decorations. On the other hand, buttresses are often a feature of the naves, where they may be topped by turrets, as in the style of the Basilica of Our Lady of the Pillar. There may be side chapels which are not obvious from the exterior. Churches in neighborhoods, such as San Pablo of Zaragoza, or small towns do not usually have aisles, but locations for additional altars are provided by chapels between the nave buttresses. It is common for these side chapels to have a closed gallery or andite walkway, with windows looking to the outside and inside of the building. This constitution is called a church fortress, and his prototype could be the Church of Montalban. Typically the bell towers show extraordinary ornamental development. The structure is inherited from the Islamic minaret, quadrangular with central pier whose spaces are filled via staircase approximation vaults, as in the Almohad minarets. On this body stood the tower, usually polygonal. There are also examples of octagonal towers.
The Palmeral or Palm Grove of Elche is the generic name used to designate a system of date palm orchards in the city of Elche, Spain. Currently, in the urban area of Elche there are a total of 97 different orchards containing about 70,000 date palms, mostly in the east bank of the Vinalopó. This number does not include other large plantations located around the city proper. Altogether, the number may be close to 200,000 palms. The palm grove covers over 3.5 km2, including 1.5 km2 within the city of Elche. It is the only palm grove of its type anywhere in Europe, the northernmost of its kind, and one of the largest in the world, surpassed in size only by some in Arab countries. By the 1920s the danger to the groves was recognized, and by the 1930s the first legislating efforts attempted to ensure the continuance of what remained. De facto, the palm grove was largely unregulated until 1986, when the Valencian regional government issued the current law on the protection of the Elche palm grove, regulating the traditional uses and protecting the palm grove from any changes potentially affecting its traditional layout and maintenance. The imperial palm, Palmera imperial, in the Hort del Cura. In 2000, the UNESCO designated the palm grove as a World Heritage Site, citing the transfer of landscape and agricultural practices from one culture and continent to another, Moorish North Africa to Christian Europe. Individual specimens present in the palm grove can grow to a height of more than 30 meters, and be up to 300 years old. A famous palm is the one known as imperial palm, Palmera imperial, with 7 stems in the shape of a candelabra. It was named after Elizabeth, known as Sissi, the empress consort of Franz Joseph, who visited the plantation in 1894, and to whom it was dedicated. By 2014 the imperial palm was estimated to be about 170 years old. In 2005, it was discovered that the larvae of the red palm weevil, Rhynchophorus ferrugineus, had infested some trees, laying its eggs inside the stems. Currently the palm grove is under management to avoid the spread of the pest using a combination of biological pest control, pheromone traps and approved specific pesticides.
The Parkgil is a public park system composed of gardens and architectonic elements located on Carmel Hill, in Barcelona, Catalonia, Spain. Carmel Hill belongs to the mountain range of Collserola. The Parc del Carmel is located on the northern face. Parkgil is located in L'Ocellet, a neighborhood in the Gracia district of Barcelona. With urbanization in mind, Eusebigil assigned the design of the park to Antoni Gaudí, a renowned architect and the face of Catalan modernism. The park was built between 1900 and 1914 and was officially opened as a public park in 1926. In 1984, UNESCO declared the park a World Heritage Site under works of Antoni Gaudí. It has since been converted into a municipal garden. Gaudí's house, La Torrosa, containing furniture that he designed, can be only visited for another entrance fee. The buildings flanking the entrance, though very original and remarkable with fantastically shaped roofs with unusual pinnacles, fit in well with the use of the park as pleasure gardens and seem relatively inconspicuous in the landscape when one considers the flamboyance of other buildings designed by Gaudí. One of these buildings houses a permanent exhibition of the Barcelona City History Museum MUBA focused on the building itself, the park and the city. The focal point of the park is the main terrace, surrounded by a long bench in the form of a sea serpent. The curves of the serpent bench form a number of enclaves, creating a more social atmosphere. Roadways around the park to service the intended houses were designed by Gaudí as structures jutting out from the steep hillside or running on viaducts, with separate footpaths and arcades formed under these structures. His structures echo natural forms, with columns like tree trunks supporting branching vaulting under the roadway, and the curves of vaulting and alignment of sloping columns designed in a similar way to his Church of Colonial so that the inverted catenary arch shapes form perfect compression structures. The large cross at the park's high point offers the most complete view of Barcelona and the bay. The park supports a wide variety of wildlife, notably several of the non-native species of parrot found in the Barcelona area. Other birds can be seen from the park, with records including short-toed eagle. The park also supports a population of hummingbird hawk moths.
The Paseo del Prado is one of the main boulevards in Madrid, Spain. The Paseo del Prado is the oldest historical urban in Madrid and was declared Bien d'Interés Cultural, BIC. It runs north-south between the Plaza de Cibeles and the Plaza del Emperador Carlos V, also known as Plaza de Atocha. With the Plaza de Canovas del Castillo, the location of the Fuente de Neptuno, and of the Ritz and Palace five-star hotels, lying approximately in the middle. The Paseo del Prado forms the southern end of the city's central axis, which continues to the north of Cibeles as the Paseo de Recoltos, and further north as the Paseo de la Castellana. This densely tree-lined, wide and centric avenue is a landmark for the city residents and the location of important cultural and tourist spots in the city, including the so-called Golden Triangle of Art, which encompasses 3 museums. The Prado Museum, with highlights such as Diego Velázquez's Las Meninas and Francisco de Goya's La Magia Vestida and La Magia Desnuda. The Thyssen-Bornemisza Museum, housing a collection that spans 8 centuries of European painting. And the Reina Sofia Museum, where Pablo Picasso's Guernica hangs, among a collection of 20th century art. In the vicinity are located the Parque del Buen Retiro and the Casa del Buen Retiro, hosting the 19th century collection of the Prado Museum, as well as the headquarters of the Real Academia Española, the Spanish-language academy, the Bolsa de Madrid, the city's stock exchange, and the Congreso de los Diputados, the National Congress. The Paseo del Prado Boulevard includes several monuments and enclosures that are of historical and artistic interest, erected in the 18th century for the Hall of Prado urban project. Numerous ornamental and landscaping grounds were constructed for this project. The highlights of this project include the Villanueva building, headquarters of the Prado Museum, the Royal Botanical Gardens and the sculptural water fountains of Neptune, Cibeles, and Apollo. A controversial project of thorough reform and revitalization of the Paseo del Prado and the Paseo de Recoltos, known as Plan Especial Recoltos Prado and authored by an international team of architects led by Alvaro Siza, was approved by the City Council on June 23, 2005. But as of December 2010 its environmental impact study is still underway and reconstruction has not been initiated.
The Plaza Mayor, English Main Square, was built during Philip II's reign, 1598-1621, and is a central plaza in the city of Madrid, Spain. It is located only a few Spanish blocks away from another famous plaza, the Puerta del Sol. The Plaza Mayor is rectangular in shape, measuring 129 meters times 94 meters, and is surrounded by 3-story residential buildings having 237 balconies facing the plaza. It has a total of 9 entrance ways. The origins of the plaza, go back to 1577, when Philip II asked Juan de Herrera, a renowned classical architect, to discuss a plan to remodel the busy and chaotic area of the old Plaza del Arrabal. Juan de Herrera was the artist who designed the first project in 1560 to remodel the old Plaza del Arrabal, but construction did not start until 1617, during Philip II's reign. The king asked Juan Gómez de Mora to continue with the project, and he finished the porticos in 1619. Nevertheless, the Plaza Mayor as we know it today is the work of the architect Juan de Villanueva, who was given the glorious, albeit difficult task of its reconstruction in 1790 after a series of enormous fires. Jambalogna's equestrian statue of Philip III dates to 1616, but it was not placed in the center of the square until 1848. The name of the plaza has changed over time. Originally it was called the Plaza del Arrabal, but became known as the Plaza Mayor. In 1812, following a decree, all the major plazas of Spain were renamed Plaza de la Constitución, in honor of the Constitution of 1812. The plaza had this name until the restoration of the Bourbon king in 1814, when it became known as the Plaza Real. The plaza once again held the name Plaza de la Constitución in the periods from 1820 to 1823, 1833 to 1835, and 1840 to 1843. In 1873, the name changed to Plaza de la República, and then back to Plaza de la Constitución from the restoration of Alfonso XII in 1876 to the dictatorship of Primo de Rivera in 1922. A proclamation of the Second Spanish Republic gave the plaza the name of Plaza de la Constitución until the end of the Spanish Civil War, when the plaza was renamed the Plaza Mayor, the name it bears to date.